Academica Media. From Academica Media Studios in Miami, Florida, it's Big Ideas in Education, a weekly recap of inspiration and innovation in your schools.
Welcome to Big Ideas in Education. For like the 100th episode in a row, the announcer is not right. We are not in Academica Media Studios because we've been broadcasting from our homes during the pandemic. And we're also not in my Academica Media Studios today, but it's because we are finishing up the live stream at the Florida Charter School Conference in Orlando. I'm Ryan Kairalla, joined with Dr. Sarah Boulos from Somerset Academy Schools. How are you, Sarah?
In the flesh.
I know. I mean, is this the first time we've seen each other in the flesh?
You've changed. I was going for the Nick Cage face off. I was going for the.
Has this been the first time in 2 years that we've actually?
Not only is this the first time since March 2020, this is the first time we're not Zooming, so I can't see myself right now.
Yeah.
I literally just put my camera on my phone to what do I look like? Is my hair okay? I don't know what to do with my hands. So yeah, this is it's a little surreal.
Honestly,
a lot of people.
I really like it better this way because you get when you're watching yourself in the live stream, you just stare at yourself the whole time.
I really try not to.
You're checking every single thing. It's just it's so nice to not have to see that. We're just looking at the camera. We're just looking at Ross. Hey, Ross.
I'd much rather look at Ross than myself.
Now, Sarah, we were remarking that before we came on here for the live stream, we were looking at the commercial for Doral Academy.
I thought it was a movie trailer. It was.
The music
I want
was
that music.
Sick.
I just want to wake up to that every day.
And
That's the most motivating music.
So
I've heard
the
in a
music's
long
super
time.
motivating. I don't think you actually saw the video of it.
No.
But
I could hear it.
The video is incredible. It makes you want to go to that school. You're going to want to get rid of your doctorate and get rid of your bachelor's degree and just to go back to just almost
right.
Because
by the
of
way,
how
my
cool
ego
this commercial
is not
was.
bruised at all by the fact that people are right now packing up boxes
Yeah.
and carting it. We are at the tail end of this FCSC, Florida Charter School Conference. We have, as you're watching this, we have already completed our panel with Mr. Larry Millian, who I wish could have stayed and talked with us today. We are going to get him in this pseudo studio one day. I feel like I just said Susu Studio, and that was really fun.
I mean, pseudo studio is
Pseudo studio.
That's
the
it's quite a little turn of phrase there.
The next Weird Al cover of that song is going to be Pseudo Studio. But we had such a great time. We had, double digits of people in our presentation.
Yeah.
It was really
Nice little turnout for our podcasting and live streaming presentation.
I felt like we did pretty well and got some really great feedback from that. So I'm really excited. And spoiler alert, we're going to talk to you a little bit more about that. But first, I think we are sponsored here by Dove Vanilla Ice.
Yes. So we're at the end of the conference here. We're at the end of our 7-hour live stream. And at the end of the conference, and they gave out ice cream.
I mean, you can't be mad about that.
And you would think that it would be unprofessional of us to eat ice cream in the middle of our live streaming.
We've decided after our presentation that we are
Going to become an
ASMR. Wow.
ASMR video. We are not going to do that. But Ryan thinks that there's nothing wrong with us eating ice cream on this show. So I'm sorry for all of you who can see us right now.
I've done 7 hours on this camera today. I think I can.
Ryan has earned his ice cream. I will tell you that right now. A lot of people just tuned out.
Sorry. Oh my God, that's so good though.
Lactose, I dare you.
So as I chew, as you chew, I'll answer. We'll alternate. I'll ask a question, you chew, you'll answer, I chew. We'll make this work.
Actually, Ryan, as a person who has taught for many, many years, I am very good at getting to do the quick chew and teach. So I don't know. I think I can handle this.
Is that something that comes up in a PD session a lot? The chew and teach?
It is not, but as students who were in my first and second periods can attest, I was the kind of person who dragged my breakfast out over 3 hours. So kids would always be like, "It's fine. You remember that piece of toast that's been sitting on your desk for 2 hours? Why are you eating that?"
I'm working on it.
So I'm sorry, guys.
All right. So we gave a panel today at the Florida Charter School Conference on podcasting and live streaming, because clearly we're so professional at this. And it was
sorry, but I now have a certificate of appreciation.
Oh, yes, you do.
So guys, we've made it.
Yeah. This
It's really exciting.
I'm gonna call my dad. Just
I already did. He says hi.
Oh, so I mean, I'll confess, Sarah, you've done a lot more of these like PDs and panels and presentations than I have. I'm new to this. I have never seen before PD/panel Sarah. I've seen podcast Sarah, and podcast Sarah is cool. She's very academic. She's very clinical. She has great presentation style. PD Sarah, that's a fun Sarah. You should have seen her up there. She was running the room. They were so animated. Like, I want to party with PD Sarah. That was fantastic.
Thank you. I think I get a lot of energy from being with other educators. So, talking about what it's like to be a teacher and kinds of the things that we're going through, the struggles we have, and the goals that we have and what we were achieving. So that's kind of what I wanted us to have our panel be about, is thinking about what is happening in schools? What are the educational goals that we want to achieve through podcasting or through live streaming? And how can we build a studio? How can we build a curriculum around what you want to accomplish in your school? So I just think that's a really fun conversation. So I guess I was excited about it.
And it was really exciting to see all of the people watching our panel and the different reasons that brought them to this panel. Like, some people wanted to get into podcasting because they wanted their students to do it, to set up podcasting clubs on campus. Others saw it as a way to engage their communities, to get their parents excited. Others saw it as a way to broadcast open houses over a live stream so that more people could watch the school's open houses.
Original arts programming that their students are doing. I mean, we got some people coming to talk to us at the end about their performing arts school, and all of their students perform original pieces. And I was just blown away at the amount of talent represented in our presentation and in the audience, I should say, and all of the amazing ideas that they are bringing to our schools and our students. And I guess that really gets me jazzed and really excited about what's going on.
Oh, I couldn't help but be inspired by it. And what I think we really tried to go for in that presentation, it's something I would love to impart to the viewers on this live stream and the listeners who are going to listen to this podcast later, is education podcasts and podcasting in general doesn't have to be the province of just professional broadcasters. That,
if you are listening to the show and don't have that message already.
I know everybody's like, oh, we could never be as professional at this as Ryan and Sarah.
We could never
eating their ice
have
cream.
A microphone with a Dove bar in our mouths.
Oh my goodness. This is really good Dove bar though.
Honestly, I think we're just tired.
Oh, well, I'm definitely that. A 7-hour live stream. Whose idea was that? Ross will say that was your idea.
Ryan,
I remember
I read the emails.
I remember
100% you.
Ross and we were on the call together. And I came up with this as I was talking to Ross. Ross is my witness that I was the one who came up with this really bad, but also really fun idea. But I think in a lot of ways, this message of, anybody can podcast, or this panel made a lot of sense coming from us, right? If there were a bunch of professional NPR podcasters up on this panel, a lot of the teachers that were watching the panel would be, I could never do that. But if we can do it, surely these teachers can. And so what we tried to impart during this panel was providing simple solutions, how you can create a podcast, not with a lot of resources, not with a lot of technology, and not in a way that's time consuming, but using tools that are very affordable and fitting it neatly into your schedule so that any busy teacher or administrator can become a podcaster and add this to their professional arsenal.
Yeah, I think the way that I have always conceptualized it, and I didn't realize it until we were actually preparing for this, was that as an English teacher, I always tell my students, you have a voice and you are a writer, right? You have something to say. You have a particular way that you will say it. And as an educator, I think I always challenge myself to have students find their voice and find a way to put it out there. I've read and I've watched a lot of content. This is live, guys.
It's been a long day.
Real live, and it's been a while since I've had this setup. Sorry about that.
There might be some people that are like, this isn't actually live. They pre-recorded this. I'm on to them.
Watch.
Yeah. If the eating of the ice cream and the knocking of the microphones didn't convince you that we are 1,000% live right now.
Yeah.
I've read a lot about teaching writing and how, I think there's a speaker and an author. His name escapes me right now, but he has an excellent book and an excellent series about writing, where he thinks that everybody should write. Everybody should write. Everybody should write a book. Everybody should publish op-eds and things like that. And I know in professional development that I've given to other educators, I say, I've been told, and I repeat it, write, have your students write. If you're grading everything your students are writing, they're not writing enough. Get them out there, get their voices, get their thoughts out there. And in a way, I think that podcasting as a medium, live streaming, is another expression of that, right? Your school has a voice, your teachers have a voice, your students have a voice. Let's find a way to get what they want to say out there. And I know that, what we do here may not feel very groundbreaking, but in a way, it's something that we want to express. We see positive things happening every single day in schools, right? And there's a lot. If you Google education and click news, the first 4 pages are not positive messages, right? It's going to take a while to get those hits onto a positive story. And I will be honest, it's a challenge some weeks to come together with some positive news. But we have made that decision that we want to bring some positivity and some inspiration into this space because we see such beautiful things happening in schools, and we want to highlight those voices, and we want to highlight these amazing things happening, because that message doesn't get broadcasted as loudly as some of the other messages.
And I think one of the reasons why, and you made this point during the panel, and kudos to you for hitting the nail on the head with this, is you were saying that there is a conversation happening in education right now, particularly over the podcasting medium, and there aren't enough educators participating in that conversation.
That's right.
And so that's one of the reasons why we're trying to hold this panel, is because we want to get more people from education into the education media space, because a lot of stories and a lot of perspective is getting lost by not hearing from that voice.
That's right.
From those people.
I agree. And I think that as an educator, and especially as a classroom teacher, I think that there's a lot of power that is taken away, right? A lot of decisions are made without your input. A lot of that is out of your hands. So when we think about as classroom teachers, what is in our hands? What is in front of us? Our students are in front of us, right? What is our voices are in front of us? What do we have the power to do? We have the power to share our stories, and we have the power to talk about what is happening in our lives, in our students' lives, in our classrooms, the innovative ideas we come up with, the insane things that we think, will this work? How did that reach these kids? How is it that this crazy thing that I did today got their attention? Ooh, I told you they were packing up. I don't know if you all can hear it.
All of this noise, doesn't this remind you of when we first podcasted? The very first podcast we did with Academica Media was at the Florida Charter Schools Conference.
It was the first episode we ever did.
Yeah, in 2018.
Yeah.
And we ran into this exact same problem.
Circle,
we were broadcasting right at the end of the conference, and almost the entire audio track was muffled by the sound of chairs being stacked and tables being folded. We're right back to where we started.
We still don't have a better time slot. No, I'm just teasing.
One of the other things that we talked about in the panel, Sarah, was some of the tools that we like to use and in our podcasting and live streaming. And something that we wanted to advance to the people watching our panel was this idea that you don't need to have like the most.
You do what you got to do. Don't worry.
They're trying to be quieter, and that's very sweet, but they got to do their job.
You don't need the most state-of-the-art software and hardware. You don't need to know how to use Pro Tools to edit the audio. You can use pretty simple, very user-friendly hardware and software tools to create great podcasting and live streaming content. I'd love to talk a bit, Sarah, about some of our favorite tools that we use at Academica Media. I know you have a few particularly treasured ones.
Well, I mentioned in the presentation that my first broadcasting experience, if you can really even call it that, and this is just to attest to the fact that almost anything can be considered broadcasting, right? It just means you're publishing for someone other than yourself to consume.
That is such a good point.
As an English teacher, as a high school English teacher, I had hundreds of students. And if you can remember back to your high school essay writing days, imagine your poor English teacher grading all of those high school essays, right? And something that I noticed is just how inefficient I was as an essay grader, because I felt like I, as the teacher, read the same things that I wanted to correct over and over and over and over. So what I did is I thought, what if I just pulled my phone out, recorded myself grading these papers and highlighting the same, corrections I want to make, the same mechanics errors, the same parallel structure errors, the same things over and over again, and just recorded a few minutes of this and then showed it to my class or emailed it to my students.
Oh, somebody dropped something.
No, they're all right. They can put that back, right? That leg will go right back on. The table leg, guys. But I did. So back to
Yeah.
So I did that. I recorded it. I sent it to my students, and the response was just overwhelmingly positive. And I thought, man, I could have stood in the front of this classroom and said 100 times, and I did. Prior to that, I had said so many times the issues that I was seeing that I wanted to correct. We'd done peer editing. We'd done everything under the sun, But my kids really responded to me taking a moment outside of class, recording myself, and giving them an opportunity. Hey, why don't you see this and send it back to me, and let's just do this little back and forth. And I was shocked at how that made such a difference in the way that we collaborated and graded papers together and edited and revised.
Turn your mic a little bit.
Yeah.
There we go.
Sorry about that. I just was really blown away by that. And so that really got me excited about, well, what else can I do? And it wasn't something I had planned on doing. It's not something I dreamed about it was just, let me try something, and it worked. And it's like, what else can we do? And I think helping educators to kind of find those, what else can we do, opportunities is really exciting. So I think the question was, how did I do that? Or what tools did I use? So literally just use my cell phone. There was no equipment. It was not fancy. So I love to tell educators who are interested in this, you don't need anything. You need no fancy equipment. You need exactly what you have already. If you have a phone, which I don't know anybody who doesn't.
Certainly if you work in education.
Exactly. I mean, even my grandmother has a phone. She could do a podcast at this point.
I'd watch it.
I would listen to it.
I mean,
I would listen to it.
It's going to be a good show.
But that's really it. That's all you need to get started. Now, we also talked a lot in our presentation about you may have different entry points, right? So if you want to go further than that and you want to maybe record yourself and project it to a larger audience, you do need some other things. So something that I've recommended to people before is a free app that you can get for your smartphone called Anchor, which allows you to record and publish. I know publish is not the right word. I use that word a lot because as an English teacher, that's where my brain always goes, but it's to record and disseminate, right? Is that the right word for it? You can tell which one of us has no broadcast experience.
I think I've heard the term publish a podcast.
Okay,
we'll
publish.
take that.
Yeah, there we go.
Post a podcast, upload
Post.
a podcast.
Upload. I mean, definitely uploading. But I see, so with my limited background, my friend actually way back, my friend John had recommended to me to use something like Anchor because it was free, because it was user-friendly, easy to navigate, and I did. And then he said, you might want to get a microphone instead of just talking into your cell phone. And so, I did extensive research and bought a $20 microphone on Amazon.com because it had good reviews. And that's, started from there. And it was incredible. I know you've heard me on my $20 microphone, and I've got great feedback with you saying how that $20 microphone was just
a great sound quality that I was able to get.
Without a doubt.
And I have friends with these like fancy Yeti mics or whatever they are. And I'm like, I got my Amazon Basics one over here and it's working okay. But just some real simple. I'm a big fan of use what you have. I'm a very minimalist person when it comes to that. Use what's around you. Don't, especially if you're real nervous about getting started, I would say don't wait for these big things to make it happen. Just start. I know we say it a lot, but just start with what you have and see how it goes. And if you hate it, scrap it. Nobody needs to hear it, but it's great to just start with what you have. And to that end, I know we were talking to some principals earlier this week, I don't know what day it is, but we were talking about affordability and how do you know how much to invest in this? So we had this idea to kind of put some Amazon wish lists together to match budgets. So if you only have about $100 that you can invest in something, what would we recommend? If you had more than that, what would you recommend? So we're putting together these little wish lists for those who are interested in some of the products we would recommend if you are interested in getting started or starting something at your school.
Yeah, come reach out to us. Tweet at us at Academica Media with the hashtag Big Ideas in Education. We'll love to send you some of those resources. See, this is why I ate the ice cream quickly.
I think I'm taking too long.
I knew by the back half of the show, the things would start to get a little precarious with the ice cream. So good though, right? I'm in such a good mood now after devouring that. Yeah, we talked about a lot of really cool podcast tools that are user-friendly, that can allow you to get started with very little investment. And those are the ones I'd like to continue talking about here on this stream, because a lot of the people who are watching this who want to get involved, they probably don't want to spend a lot of money up front. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the platform that we are using right now to bring this live stream to everybody. And it is StreamYard. This is a web-based platform. It's you log onto it with Google Chrome. And as we speak, this platform, which Ross is so dutifully manning right now, allows us to stream Sarah and I eating ice cream to all of Academica's social media platforms, Academica Media's social media platforms, the YouTube accounts, all from one site. And we use it for podcasting as well, because when that stream is over, we're going to, StreamYard allows you to download the audio to that stream separately, and then you can edit that audio and use that audio to make podcasts. So when we started Academica Media 3 years ago, it was a pretty equipment-intensive endeavor. We had a lot of software and hardware involved. We used, mixers and extra audio recording software and all this stuff we had to download to our computers. And now it's almost all StreamYard, where StreamYard is allowing us to stream this video, but it also gives us the audio. We use a very simple audio editor, and then we just post it to Spreaker, our podcast hosting service, and that's it. And this is and by the way, like it's not a resource intensive platform for a computer to run. We mentioned this during the panel that we are running this 7-hour live stream on my work laptop, not on some super powerful streaming computer, on my work laptop. I write, like, this thing can't handle much more than Microsoft Word. Even Excel makes it sweat a little bit. It's like, oh no, a spreadsheet. And it's handling this live stream just fine. So schools that are afraid, oh, I can't get into live streaming because I need to get some massive, crazy computer. we're doing this on a laptop, and it's coming in great.
I think for a lot of us, whenever somebody brings up a new, I don't even want to say technology, because I don't think it's always about the technology. I think it's just when we're faced with the unfamiliar and asked to change, there's always a little bit of anxiety there, right? There can be some, I don't know, I've been working so hard at this, I don't know if I can change and try something else. I think that's a natural thing. And I forget where I read it, but I read something really great about how humans are really, really bad at change, but really, really good at adaptation. And I thought that was interesting.
Whoa.
Yeah, right? So instead of
Ross liked that one.
instead of thinking about changing the way you do things, why don't we just adapt it? So I have to say, thinking about like the biggest non-intentional social experiment of probably our lifetimes was with the COVID-19 pandemic, and we all had to adapt very quickly. And now I'm pretty sure if you're listening or watching, you have already been live streaming. You have already been podcasting to an extent, right? You've been recording yourself. You've been publishing yourself. You've been speaking to colleagues, to parents, to students using these media. Just try to be a little bit more intentional about it. So that barrier of fear where it would have been like, I could never hold a live stream parent conference. You probably had to.
Yeah.
You probably had to do open house. You probably had to do graduation. You probably had to do a whole lot of these things, and you adapted and you did it. So let's keep adapting and let's keep moving it forward and putting some more content out there that you're really proud of and that you really want to push out about how your school works and what are the amazing programs that you do.
And I'm glad that you brought up this point about adaptation. I've come to find with our own experience with podcasting and live streaming during the pandemic is oftentimes with those adaptations come unexpected rewards.
Oh yeah.
Through no desire of our own, the pandemic forced Academica Media to become a more remote podcasting operation. We had this really cool studio that we built in South Miami that we didn't get to use for 2 years because we had to podcast from our homes. And we thought, oh gosh, this is going to end the whole network. And it turned out to be a real shot in the arm for the network because we gained a lot from podcasting from our homes. For one thing, a lot easier to get to where you're podcasting when it's just at your desk as opposed to having to go to a studio in South Miami. It's a lot easier to get guests to come on. We used to have a lot of trouble getting people to come to our studio for an interview. Now all they have to, especially teachers and principals, right? But now these same teachers and principals, when all you're asking them to do is just, pop onto their webcam, which they're already doing 9 times that day on Zoom.
Right.
It's a lot easier to get people to come on your show. It's caused us to find software like StreamYard, which has really optimized a lot of our pre-show and post-show production. And so, but for this pandemic, we would have never started utilizing all these competencies to make our podcast network even more dynamic and allow the content to be even more effective. And it's been a really surprising and exciting development.
Absolutely.
Well, oh gosh. So we're at the home stretch here, Sarah. We have...
I think they're giving us the light.
It's our good friends at the Florida Charter School Conference telling us to get out of here.
I just want to say, I know that I said this about 10 times in our presentation, but I would love to give a shout out to 2 of the coolest middle schoolers I have ever met in my entire life. The 2 Bens from Bach.
The Bens from Bach.
The Bens from Bach. Okay, so I got to our presentation room a little early. So just to give you some context, as we've recommended on the show before, when you're going to do anything live, check your technology, make sure everything works. So I got to the presentation room a bit early so I could check out the way the whole presentation setup was, make sure that I had the right cables and all that jazz. And I was greeted by 2 of the coolest, most informed and kindest people. And one young man, his name was Ben, and he is in 7th grade, and he was with Ben from 6th grade, and both are students at Bach Academy who are here at the conference providing tech support for all of the presenters here. And I am just blown away and impressed with their level of professionalism and helpfulness. And I'm gonna give a little shout out to our producer Ross and to someone else who works very much behind the scenes, Manny Pond, but they totally reminded me of like young Ross and young Manny who know so much more than I ever will about any of these products. And they just are kind and patient and are looking at me probably thinking I'm 100 years old, don't know how to use this. And they're just so sweet. And they're like, hey, that's okay. I'm just going to help you get set up and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I'm so appreciative of them and I'm so proud of them. And I think that their teachers and parents who brought them here, and I just want to give them a hug. They are just the sweetest.
Well, I mean, the Bens from Bach and Ross and Manny are just the beginning of a very long list of people that we need to thank, not just for making Academica Media happen generally over the last 3 years, but making this stream happen and happen specifically.
Let's give some credit where it's
yeah,
due.
with the last few minutes here, just to run through. I mean, obviously, as we said before, Ross, you've seen me and you've seen Sarah in and out and seen a lot of guests the whole time. But the one person who's been here for all 7 hours is Ross. Who has
we need to turn the
kept
camera.
all. Yeah, can we
Also,
can we
Ross,
pop in over here, say hi or
we
something?
joke a lot about how we have faces for radio. Ross has a TV face. Check out this
Look at
handsome
it.
guy.
Look at that
Like,
handsome
come
lad
on.
right there.
Come on.
So Ross does so much behind the scenes.
Yes,
Like
he does.
he's editing all the podcast episodes. He's keeping the tech on track.
And
He
has
helped
been
all this set up
pretty much since the beginning.
since the beginning. Just so tremendous. But we also have people producing this program
That's
in
right.
our home studio in Miami. We got to thank Frankie Mestre. We got to thank Mike Hernandez, Mackenzie Kairalla, Frank. All these people just Kevin. Oh my God, Kevin. So many folks made this happen. Adri Lima helping us get guests. We got to thank our friends at the Florida Charter School Alliance, Lynn Tech, and Liliana Salazar for running a whole hour of this stream while we were doing our panel and doing it without breaking a sweat, by the way.
I mean,
we had her go for an hour. She honestly could have done like 3 hours
yes.
without blinking.
I mean, if you've
What a
been
star.
watching, what can be said except that she's amazing.
Always got to thank all the folks at Academica, like Fernando Zulueta and Julio Robina. Thank the folks at Somerset for bringing you into this, Bernie Montero, and that whole crew.
I love my Somerset people.
The Jefferson
Maybe
crew.
might be why I'm always so proud of Ross and Manny, products of Somerset Academy.
Absolutely.
And I think it's really important to say thank you to, in addition to all the amazing people that you mentioned, I was on my only call with regard to this live stream and saw just an amazing amount of interns whose names I do not remember right now, but just like 5 of the most intelligent and articulate young ladies putting all this together.
The Vieiras,
QR
Karen Carlo, yeah.
Thank you.
Gosh,
got to get their names on there.
God, that was a very good save. You got to figure they're watching this right now, being like, what happened? No, we got you, Vieiras. Don't worry.
Not only that, they were like, well, I got class from this time to this time. I'm going to just, set myself up and then come help you guys. And I was thinking, what? This is amazing. Getting our QR codes, getting the
Laura, another
Amazon
intern,
gift cards going,
Yeah.
all of these people who I'm very sorry, I don't remember your name, but it was my first time meeting you, but I was blown away by how dedicated you all are to getting an idea off the ground. And even more impressed that I think more than 50% of the people making this happen are former students.
That's the coolest thing about this to me.
I'll get a little misty if I think about it too long, but I'm just so dang proud of them.
It's one of the things I love the most about working with these charters. And it gets back to even when we spoke with Idalia Suarez at the beginning of this live stream, and she was talking about how she's a board member of Matter Inc., but she started out as a teaching assistant. And we have people who are teachers in the schools who started out as students in those same schools. And for some reason, there's something about charter schools and our super network of charter schools where this family stays together, and we cultivate our talent. And they start off as students at Somerset. Now they're producing our podcasts like Ross. And I love that because I don't want to lose any of these people.
Absolutely. I may have mentioned this before, but one of my favorite professors that I ever had back at an undergrad, he told me he became an educator. He told me I became a teacher because of you, because I wanted to learn from you. And at the time, I kind of got it. I thought he was just kind of being, I don't know, cheesy, but wow, that hits different when I am a teacher, because we learn so much more from our kids, I think, than we ever teach them. I hope it's not true on a statistical level, but in an emotional sense, I feel like we learn so much more from them. And the fact that they contribute to growing what we're doing and helping us to put this all together, I hope we're pushing them forward also. So I don't know, I'm getting a little emotional over here, getting a little sappy, but I just feel so overwhelmingly grateful.
The point is, people, it takes a lot of really talented, hardworking people that we care about to allow us to look silly eating ice cream on a live stream.
Yes.
It takes a lot of people to make that happen, and we're so grateful for all of them. And we are so grateful to all of you for checking out our live stream over the last 7 hours. We've made it to the finish line. I can't believe it. I'm going to take a nap. Sarah, it's been a pleasure hosting Big Ideas in Education with you today.
Absolutely. I think it was probably week 3 of the pandemic, so maybe like early April of 2020. I think I did a favor for Lily Salazar, who I can't even remember what the favor was. And she said, "Oh, I owe you dinner," or something like that. And I said, "Lily, by the time this is over, I think I will settle for one in-person hug." Who knew it would take that long to get here? But I'm just really grateful that I got to actually see you.
Absolutely. Oh God, it's. I think there's just gonna be like one collective group hug that we're all gonna have tonight when we're all hanging out together.
I got
And
vaxxed up.
it's 2
and
years
we're
in
all
the
ready.
making.
Worked hard to get here, right? Well, I got
That's
the literal shot in the arm. Make sure that we could all be together.
Thank you all for your support of Academica Media. Thank you all for checking out our live stream. You want to sign us off, Sarah?
All right. Well, thank you all. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
The views expressed on the preceding program have been those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the views of Academica, its clients, staff, affiliates, or advertisers.